Vision is a difficult process because vision has to be wide enough and narrow enough. It has to be reachable but unattainable. It has to inspire us to be gripped, and yet we'll never reach it. So vision is a juxtaposed thought compounded by the future mindset, and all of that swirling can become a real to be able to have to stay from. And so today we're going to be looking at what can we do to actually create a statement that makes sure that we are always going to be able to move towards our future so that the life that we desire is attainable. Mission, vision, and values is clarity to make sure that we're always moving forward towards the place that we want to be. And so today we're going to dig into that right now. Since future-mindedness is a difficult thing, we're going to have to practice what it looks like to be a future-minded thinker. And so this is what I want you to do right now. We're going to start off, the very first thing is to dig into our handout that you have, virtual handout that you have, and we're going to take a look at this box. So what you're looking at right now in this grid is you're seeing mission, vision, values at the top. You should see a grid there that says 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 years. And then in this box, I'm very specific in the way that I ordered this box for us to be able to start to think future-minded and to come up with this idea of a vision statement. So when I'm looking at this box, I want you to see the columns here. So the very first column says, what did I do? In that column, so you see the what did I do section. In 1 year, what was I able to achieve in my business? And so for some of you, you may have set a goal that's like, you know what? I want to be able to close 25 units. So in 1 year, what were you capable of doing? So 1 year, close 25 units, okay? In 3 years, I was able to establish a team. In 5 years, I was actually able to step outside of my team and to go invest into something else. 10 years, I was retired, and in 20 years, I was creating legacy. You know, whatever it looks like for that. What did I do? What was I capable of doing in those years? So again, in 1 year of my business, what was I capable of doing? And think about it from like right now going forward. So I am in, what is this, March 19th? It's my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. March 19th of 2020. What does it look like in March 19 of 2021? With everything that you have lined up right now, what were you capable of doing in 1 year? What were you capable of doing in 3 years? Think about that. What were you capable of doing in 5 years, and what were you capable of 10 and 20, okay? That should make sense, and if it doesn't, once we get into the activity of this, you're welcome to chime in and ask me some clarifying questions. The second comment says, how does that feel? I believe, and this is just Randy's opinion, that we have lost our, I don't know if I would call it a skill, but I feel like it should be called a skill. We have lost our skill to understand and apply feelings into our world. And it might be just because it's a foreign thing to think about in business to have that idea of feelings, but how does that feel is a really important piece to the process because feelings help drive us into activity. And so if I were able to, I went down that 1 year column, what did I do? I moved into the next one. How does that feel? If I was able to accomplish what I wanted to, how does that feel? Immediately you're going to think, gosh, man, 1 year I was able to accomplish my goal. That felt great. Okay, that's okay. Just write the word great. Some of you are a little bit more verbal, and you may write a sentence, man, it felt as if I had accomplished everything I desired. That's a great thing. And so you move into that 3 year bucket. So in 3 years, I was able to build a team. How does that feel? Man, I felt like a leader, and I felt like I was able to give back from my blessings. Well, that's a cool idea. That's a cool piece to the puzzle. So hopefully this makes sense because I want you to begin to start filling out how does that feel box. Makes a ton of sense in a second. And I don't think we give enough quality, enough quantity, enough time into the idea of our feelings and understand how our feelings make sense in this business. And then the last box says, what did they gain? And so this one is a little bit difficult for people to understand. And let me explain it. If I were able to close 25 transactions and that failed accomplished, what did they gain? They are the people who are around me, which I would directly affect. So it may be your friends, it may be your family, it may be your coworkers, and there's something or somebody of significance that was impacted by what you were able to accomplish. So in 1 year, I might, for my personal, be able to say, in 1 year, we're able to create an office that had $350,000 in profitability, and it felt like we were able to accomplish something that was just unattainable. And the people around me, when we did that, what they gained was they all made more money than they had ever made in their life. And so then I moved into the 3 year or even to the 5 year. In 5 years, I was able to create multiple streams of income in my world, and I had 5 active streams of income. And it felt as if I had not only become a business owner, but that I had become a community leader that could impact abundance all the way around me. And what did they gain? My kids were able to choose and do anything they wanted to, especially preparing for college. They got to be whatever they want to be in life because of that. And so what did they gain can actually shift. It could come from very small, and like my business partner and I were able to have a profit. In 3 years, it was like we were able to catapult our world and create another business. In 5 years, we owned franchises. In 10 years, we retired. And in 20 years, I'm sipping pina coladas on the beach, whatever it may be. So when we look at vision, I want to get a little bit future minded. And so we're going to go in that first column and we say, what did I do? And then I want you to feel it all the way out. And then in the second column, how does that feel? We've got to attach feelings into this space. I know it can be strange for some of us to dig into the feelings, and yet it is absolutely necessary. And I'm going to show you why and how very shortly. And the last thing is, what did they gain? Okay. Now here's the biggest thing. You may have drawn this grid out and everything. Hopefully you gave yourself enough room, as I did, in the 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 year sections. I want you to write how old you are. I want you to seriously think about and write how old you are. In 1 year, I'm now 39 years old. In 20 years, I am 59 years old. And I hope what that helps you to do is to put into place the conversation of, I hope that I'm not really still opening doors when I'm 59 years old. I hope I've created enough space to retire. Or I hope that so it gives us the ability to, when we attach the age to it, it does help us to be a little bit more, it helps us to recognize a little more clearly about what that 1, 3, 5, what the I did thing should have been, or what did they gain should have been, because we can bring an analogy into our world. I know 59-year-olds and I know what I want to be. And for some of them, yeah, I absolutely want to be like this guy. 100% don't want to be like this guy. So what have they done that we can actually attach to, or at least to be able to see what their accomplishments were, so that then we can bring in an analogy into that age of what we should be capable of doing. And I hope this makes sense. And so what I really want you to do, and we're going to take probably a good amount of time to be able to fill out this grid. I'm going to ask you again, just like I did before, if you don't want to participate in this class, just go ahead and close it down and head out. That's fine. It's good. We're good on that. That doesn't bother me. But if you want to be here and you want to really figure out how you can structure and bring clarity into your world that will truly catapult your business, I'm going to highly suggest working through this whole grid. Go in, be part of this, dig into it. So right now, we're going to go to this grid. I'm going to bring that screen up for a little bit. This is the grid that we're working on right now. I want you to go in and understand, what did I do in 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10 year, 20 year? How does it feel in each of those things? I accomplished this. It felt like this. The people around me were able to get that. Okay. This is what we're doing right now. I'm going to hang out over here in the chat box. If you're confused or you have some questions, just pipe up and I'll pay attention to what's going on. And I'm going to put on, again, a little background music so that we're just not sitting in silence. But I really want you to sit down and really understand, practice being in thought process for future mindedness. And this grid is what's going to help us get there. And it's going to help us to create that vision statement. Okay. So this is your time to dig into that. If you got any questions, you're welcome to pipe in. If you feel like it's just too quiet, you're welcome to unmute yourself and just say anything as well. I guess I could spy on you. Hi, Crystal. How are we doing? Good? Did we lose somebody? In case you're curious, I'm entertaining myself because there's a delay on the Facebook Live and I'm watching that on my iPad and me up here. And so I'm doing stuff to watch me do it later, entertaining myself. If you have any questions, again, you're welcome to ask. I'm good with that. All right, guys, we're going to let this song finish and then we're going to get back to it, okay? So if you're working on it and you need more time, like raise your hand in the chat, maybe like type a little something like, hey, give me another minute or two. But if I don't see anybody pipe in when this song is done, we're going to go ahead and move into the next space, okay? Cool? Good. This one does take a little bit more time, though, so it's not awkward that you're all working. All right. How's everybody doing? You feel good? Anybody need any more time? If not, we're going to keep rolling. If you're good with it, we're just going to keep on rolling. Okay, so here's the reason why I wanted to do this and the specificity of why I chose to do it in this way. It really is very methodically arranged. When we go back and we look at this grid now, so now we've gone through, we've had the idea of what did I do? We've had the idea of how does that feel? And we have the idea of what did they gain? Here's what's really neat. Things begin to reveal themselves, and you may have already actually felt that. There are some of you who are really high level thinkers who, as you started filling out this grid and you had spaces filled out and you started looking at all of this, you almost probably had an out of body experience going, oh my gosh, yeah, like this is the vision that I have for my life. This is really what I want to do. The mixture of this whole grid coming to action is, and you begin to craft a sentence. I will tell you that is a very extreme rarity for somebody to be able to look at the entire picture like a chess player and go, that's it. It's almost like this revelation moment. And those people are really talented. I am not one of those people. And if you are one of those people, I'd love to be able to help you to get into the wording side of things. And so you're going to start to scribble things out, and you're just going to need help like recrafting that into one coherent language, like one sentence, one statement. Most of us, however, we're going to find that our vision more than likely is living inside of one of these stacks. And so it's in the what did I do stack. It's in the how does that feel stack. It's in the what did they gain stack. And so as I'm flipping through each of these things, what I'm going to be looking for is where is there some sort of thematic? So in the what did I do? In 1 year, I was able to close 25 transactions. In 3 years, I was able to have a pretty significant team. In 5 years, I was able to build another leg of the business. And now I had 2 sources of income. In 10 years, I retired from real estate completely and let the business run itself, hired a CEO, and I technically retired to go into coaching. And in 20 years, I was 100% living off of passive income. And so when I look at that, my vision for my life, my vision for my business is to build a real estate company that gives everyone the power and opportunity to live their life off of a passive income. And I think that's an okay statement. Like, I think there's some things that you can craft around that. Obviously, I'm shooting from the hip with that idea. But there's nothing wrong with going like, okay, so the vision for my company, Randy Olive Real Estate, exists so that then everybody that I touch gets the opportunity to move into passive income. Well, if you walked into a listing presentation, a buyer's representation agreement, or if I'm an ISA on a call and I'm having a conversation about who we are as a company, why would it be weird that I would go, hey, and I just want you to know the vision for my company is actually to make sure that I can help everyone around me understand and live in passive income. Now, let me tell you how that applies to you, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Let me tell you how that applies to you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. When you sell your house or when you purchase this house, what you're doing is building into your world of equity. And equity is an opportunity for passive income. And here's all the ways in which you can do that. So you're hiring a real estate agent that's about wealth building, okay? Hopefully this is making sense. Or if I get into that, how does that feel bucket, right? So I was able to do these things. That how does it feel bucket? Man, if I look at the thematic of that bucket, I'm looking at, man, in 1 year, I actually felt accomplished. In 3 years, I felt like I was able to give back into such a huge way. In 5 years, all I felt was abundant because of what I was capable of doing. In 10 years, gratitude was an overwhelming sense of being because now I was at home living in my exciting stages, my exciting years. And in 20 years, every single thing that I did, every single day was about legacy. Well, if I look at that stack, well, the vision for my company is to create a business that can fulfill legacy every single step I take by investing in the people who are around me. That's an awesome vision statement. How different would it be to walk into a buyer's representation, a seller's agreement, any of those things, to walk in and say, my vision for my company and for our ability to work together is that I want every single person I touch to understand legacy by contributing to those around us. It's like, I love that. How do I join into that? Well, let me tell you how. Right? See, I think we've gotten into the stage where we want our vision statement to say, I'm going to be the #1 real estate company in all of Houston, Texas, and by blah, blah, blah. And we start to fill it up with this transactional language. And we're going to go back to the idea that we're in a relationship business. Now, for some of us, your feeling is really interesting box. You don't think in flowery language. And so your feelings were good, great, amazing, beautiful, wonderful. There may not be a trail in that box, but for some of us, that box exists and nobody's ever told us that it existed. And my vision can 100% live in a feeling that once I have legs to it, once it is married with the mission and once it's married to the values, that vision statement can truly help me move into wondrous spaces. I can pivot in any direction to make sure my business is moving in that direction. I have the ability for my yeses to be yes and my nos to be nos. When I look at all of this and I consider vision, the holistic idea of mission, vision, and values. Let me flip my chart paper over. When I think about the holistic side of mission, vision, and values, I look at it like this. Most people want mission, vision, values to do this. Here's my funnel. I have my mission, vision, values as a filter. Everything pours into it. And out of the bottom, I get a yes. That's what we want our mission, vision, values to do. We want it to spit out the yes. Here's more along the lines of what the truth is around mission, vision, and values. It looks more like this. It's an umbrella. And what's actually happening is that everything around us is hitting my mission, vision, values, and it's giving me significant no's. It is telling me no. And then I get to pick up what the yeses are. Okay? And I hope this makes sense. I get to say no to things because of my mission, vision, values. It's not spitting out the yes. It's guarding me from everything. And it's telling me where the no's are so that then I can pick up what's best for me and my family. And so when I start thinking about my vision statement and I look about it in the sense, why can't my vision statement be something that moves me in a direction that fulfills my life and my lifestyle? And why would that not be interesting enough to the people around us to want to jump on board with that vision? Because when I've created a vision big enough, man, now I have a space where anybody who is a client, a prospective employee of mine, anybody who's going to go with me in the direction, my vision statement, once it's big enough, they know with certainty, can their own personal vision fit underneath my umbrella? So when I look at my vision and I make it wide enough and narrow enough and far enough and close enough, when I get into the angst of the juxtaposition, and then I compound that with the future-minded thought processes, everything now changes, and I can truly be the agent that I want to be and act like the agent that I want to be. And the world will, perception is reality, the world will see me for exactly who I say I want them to see me as. I've just now constructed my reality because I had clarity on my vision. And so when I look at this, guys, and we look at these stacks, it's very specific about building our vision statement from looking at these elements. So what did I do element, that's an accomplishment. So what did I feel element, that's about activity. So what did they gain? So this is the benevolence side of things. We live in a world where charity is a very common thing. People talk about charities. It's not a weird thing to talk about charities. Facebook forces you to pick a charity on your birthday to give to. Charities are not a weird thing now. So charities are not a weird thing. Benevolence, though, on the other hand, is a little bit different because it's about giving into spaces from our abundance to anyone and everyone. Benevolence is about giving and giving and giving, not about charity. It's about giving and giving and giving. And so when I look at the people around me, that what did they gain? What I know to be true about real estate agents is that almost all of them, when they sit across from me, and I ask them to come up with a goal for your business, and they all go into this like, well, I want to make $100,000 a year, or I want to be able to close this many loans, or sorry, this many transactions, or whatever their goal is. It's hard for them to come up with that because this is what almost always happens. Man, I just want to help people. It's like, awesome. Well, I can't help people to the bank. And I force them to think into a goal, and there's a reason for that. But yet I do know that what I talk about in that space is that people have character and they have moral implications, that they want to do more than just create a transaction that gets them paid. They want to help people. And so this is why that box is important. A lot of times you leave the flowery, the feel good, the benevolent or charity. We leave all of those vision statements to charities, to nonprofits. And yet, why can't my business look like that in a space that I show up in a selfless attitude and activities to be able to make sure that I am serving a client, making them look like a hero. I'm now the sage of the story that makes sure that every single thing that they needed along the way, I was advocate for. I'm a fiduciary. And so what did they gain? Well, the people around me made more money than they ever had. They understood wealth. They began to create their own legacy. Well, the vision for my company is to make sure that everyone I touch can retire. I had a I had a friend of mine who does what I do in North Carolina. The vision for their market center is that everybody understands being debt-free. That's the vision for their market center. It has nothing to do with real estate, which I thought was just brilliant. And every single agent that comes into that office understands what it looks like to be debt-free. It's a beautiful vision. What if it was a vision come true and their office had agents who 100% were debt-free? Their ability to pivot in this day and age right now would be amazing. Nobody would be living in fear. Everybody would be having a direction to be able to grow big time wealth, to be able to give back more. What if we were able to give back more? And so when I look at vision, I really think it's a practice. I think you have to be able to practice it. And so you're not going to be able to craft this perfectly, but it is a practice. And so I want to walk you through. I gave you a big chunk of the explanation. But here's the thing. So if we look at the basic idea for creating our mission statement, that should say vision statement, for creating our vision statement, to be is a really great exercise. I want to be, and then we're going to dig into one of those themes that we may have dug out. Right? So what did I do? Vision statement. How does that feel? There's some sort of thematic that's happening in that. If you're having challenges picking those things out, feel free to unmute yourself and pipe up and ask the question that you need to ask. So that I can make sure that we're digging back into that. I don't want you to leave feeling empty on this space, especially when it comes to vision, because it really is important to get this. But a test for our vision as we're crafting these statements is that one of these measurements should be true. Can it be a destination? Can it be a distant achievement? Can a goal be set to it? That's pretty simple. Can I set a goal to the idea of this vision? Can decisions, yes or no, become of it? So will it filter my route? And is it big enough to fit my players? Back to this umbrella thing. Is it big enough to fit my players? Growth can fit into my vision. And so I want to pause in case anybody needs some help in this space. I know that it's a weird deal to do this online in this kind of environment, and yet I want you to feel open and available to be able to ask the questions you need to, okay? And then I want to share a story about, like, when you get this right, how amazing it really is. So if anybody wants to unmute themselves, I'll give it a second. Otherwise, I'm going to go into a story and tell you about one of the nonprofits that I'm actually involved with that I think in the very beginning, she created the most brilliant vision statement that then we were able to continually pivot our direction to move towards our vision, no matter what was happening in the world around us. And so I think I've given you enough time by stalling to unmute yourself. And so I'm going to take that as a unanimous, let's keep rolling. So I have a nonprofit that I'm very highly involved with, and it's called Rescue Pink. And Rescue Pink, their vision statement is to create an India where a girl's value is respected. And so that's this statement across the bottom. To create an India where a girl's value is respected. So the person who started Rescue Pink, brilliant, brilliant person. I love her to death. Her name is Sherry. Sherry started Rescue Pink, and it started out of just an overflow of her heart. She really wanted to be able to make a difference in rural India, in the communities where a girl's value was 100% not respected. And here's how this unfolded. So in India, because of the existence of a dowry system, there used to be a dowry system in place. It has since become it's illegal to have the dowry system, but it was still a thing. And so because of the dowry system, and essentially what that means is that if I have a little girl and she marries off into a family, that family, I have to pay them a certain dowry as like penance for like them taking my child, and now they're going to support her. So if I have a girl, I have to pay a family. Now, if I have a boy, then I'm going to be receiving, and that can be pretty intense. Like it could change your wealth trajectory by receiving a dowry. And so since a little girl would then be a burden that I would have to find a way to pay, I'm then going to find a way to have mercy on this little girl, because eventually she's going to either, if I can't afford a dowry, she's going to live with us for forever. She's more than likely going to be tortured. She's going to be sold into slavery or something of that nature. She's going to have a life that is not really worth living. And so for them, in a really strange way, they felt like it was mercy to let this child pass, or they would infanticide. So they would kill the little baby girls. Sherry believed that there's no way a woman would ever want this to happen to their girl. It's just this dire situation to where that seemed to be the only solution. They had tunnel vision and made one decision. And so the idea of this would then be that all of us would probably have responded, well, I've just got to go collect all the little girls and create an orphanage and I'll save all the girls. But if I go in and I do that, I don't actually get a chance to create the solution. I've just created a Band-Aid that will help right now, but it won't help in the future. And for Sherry to have been able to look at this and say, no, I want to create an India where a girl's value is respected, we did much more than that. And so we essentially started by going in and we created spaces for the girls to go after school. So where they would become almost most vulnerable is now we've given them a space that's safe for them to come to after school. So there's no delay, there's no lag time between what they were doing. It was very purposeful in that. So they came in and to gain healthy relationships with other girls and with strong women leaders. So it was specifically women leaders in these homes, or not these homes, but in these centers. And then the next thing we looked at is that, like, well, if these women don't want to do this, then how can we empower them? And we created a program for entrepreneurs. So we created this entrepreneur program. What if we were able to teach these women how to be business women, to run their own businesses? And now, regardless of what comes their way, they are now making money and are in charge of having the ability to, no matter what comes their way, they can afford everything for their child. Education, clothes, food, dowry. Everything that would happen, they are now in control. They are now the breadwinners of their family, and they don't have to wait. Remember, a lot of this is in rural, poor areas. And so now the women are in charge. Well, that entrepreneur program created a very strong community of ladies who are like, no, like we're in this together and we're going to watch our world be the next generation of change. And that's what's happening. So now you've got women who have empowered women who are now continuing to trickle that into other women. And we've done multiple rounds of that entrepreneur program. And we're watching the first generation of change. A woman's value is respected. That is happening right now. And then we saw like, well, there's still a care scenario that's happening. Even if you have this little girl that you're able to take care of, there's now, if there's a boy in the family, there is still preference. And this is no right or wrong. This is just generational challenges that have compounded. And so now you've got a problem. If there's to care for one or the other, they're going to choose the boy. Well, then we created a pregnant and lactating program for women so that then now they had the nourishment so that they could provide health to the bones of the babies no matter what they were. So now we've created a health scenario. We've created some space for people to feel safe. We've created an entrepreneur program for these women to be able to keep and maintain their own wealth and to build a business. And that's trickling into the community larger and larger. And the last thing, and what we're looking at right now, is to be able to create a space to where we can have English schools, because all business is done in English. And so now this rural area of poor people can now have English at a very low cost, so that then now these girls can rise out of, they can be the first generation of change. So because the vision was not, how do we go and rescue all the girls? The vision was to create an India where a girl's value is respected. Every decision we made pivoted from that vision statement, and we continue to move into the direction of that answer. So now we'll have English schools hopefully coming up soon enough. And that will be like a really awesome, interesting thing for us to be able to have. To be able to create these spaces to where when we look at what we're talking about, to create an India where a girl's value is respected, was super strong. And it was so powerful for Sherry to see that in the very beginning before anything else came along. And so it's really fun to think, in my world, when I have that much clarity over the vision of my company, I know where I'm going. I know how to pivot to continue to move in that direction. And I can keep going. I can say no to a lot of things, because if they're not in alignment with my vision, it's an easy no. And so now we don't have to worry about filtering things to get to a yes. We can just keep moving in the direction of our vision, because the clarity helps us to go forward every single step of the way. And so we're going to go back to this. I know that I shared a story. We're getting a little bit towards the end of the time here. And I want to go back to this grid. I hope you filled out this grid. This is going to be one of those moments where when we're live, I can help you kind of dig some of these things out. You may need to be able to spend some time on your own with this, and that's fine. I'm going to make sure, Crystal, if you don't mind, type in my email address again into the chat. Anybody who needs it, you're welcome to get in touch with me. We'll set some time to go through this. I love doing this, and this is really good. But it's really hard to start establishing that vision statement until we have done the exercise of going through this grid and really digging into, like, how do I want to get where I want to go, value, the where do I want to go, vision. And once we have some super clarity in that, everything begins to change. And hopefully now you're kind of seeing why I do it backwards. Because now we know how we're going to get there. We know where we're going. And mission is going to be our movement in that direction. I want to go back. This is my mission statement. I mean, my vision statement. It's to engineer a platform that disciples a better together mindset. Everything I do, every step I take, I'm taking in that step to be able to create a platform that engineers a better together mindset. So when this coronavirus stuff went nuts, I immediately was in a home office, had duplicated everything I needed so that I can keep moving forward. And I've taught more classes than I've ever taught in my life, because this is continuation of what my goal is. This is a continuation of my vision. My vision doesn't have to change when circumstances change. My vision doesn't have to change when circumstances change. My vision should give me the ability to pivot and keep moving in the direction that I desire. Because the life that we desire is truly attainable. It really is attainable. We just have to keep moving in that direction. We got to know where it is that we're going. A vision is that space. Vision is that perception is reality. And we get to create our reality by having clarity around our vision. I'm going to slow down. have a little bit of that pause moment right now, and let you guys share if you want to share, and if you don't, we'll just let this be our stopping point. So, anybody have any questions, curiosities, ahas, anything that kind of happened through this process that you're like, hey, I'd actually like to make a comment. I'd like to share. This is a cool way. I've never thought about this before. Anything in that nature that you guys want to share?
Hey, Randy, it's Kimberly.
Hi, Kimberly.
So, one of the things that I really liked was putting the age next to it whenever we're doing the vision grid, because oftentimes it's, in 1 year, in 3 years, and yet putting the age with it helps to solidify, in your mind's eye, like, oh, okay, here's where, this is where I'll be then. What do I want to have accomplished by this particular time? So, for me, I thought it just solidified it a bit more for me.
I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, when I started looking at this, when I was trying to figure this out, and wanting to get into a space that I could help people like really get to the vision, like understanding that vision moment, because it really is a little bit different. Vision, we're creating legacy. When we have our vision, we're actually creating legacy. We're living an alive legacy, and again, that's even a juxtaposed thought. Like, how can I live a legacy? Legacy happens when we leave a legacy behind, but like I can every day be crafting it, right? And so the 1, 3, 5, 10, and 20 year, what was really important to me about that is that I wanted to retire in 10 years. Well, how old was I going to be when I retired if I was in 10 years? Well, I'd be 49.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, well, yeah, that sounds badass. So how can I get there? Because that sounds like something that would be absolutely phenomenal. And then when I thought about it, it's like, well, shit, what's really weird about being 59 is that like Adam's only going to be 15. Mm-hmm. And so if I retire, then I get to be with him through some of his most like pivotal moments in his life, to be able to go through those last couple of years of high school, choose a college, choose career, and all that stuff. Like, he has more access to me. So I wanted to look through it in that lens, and that's why it was really important to me to have the grid, have the age, because it could help us attach. So I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Anybody else? You don't have to share. A lot of this is pretty deep, and a lot of you have already started thinking more about this than you've ever thought before, and you're thinking about it differently than you've ever thought about it before. And so it's not easy to come up with thoughts. It's not easy to come up with the conversations or the curiosities. Some of you might even be more confused than you were when you started. So you may be like, what do I do now? Well, that's all the process. I think we've done a disservice in the mission, vision, values arena of business coaching and practice to be able to tell people, well, just write out these 5 things and then you're done. It's like, well, no, like this is who I want to be. I need to examine myself for that. And to examine yourself takes time. I will tell you, like, here, let me go back. I'm going to show you real fast, and then we can be pretty close to being done for this one and come back together. That's my notes. Like, these are my notes when I was trying to figure this out for myself. Like, it took me, oh man, probably 7 days, and I would say a total of about 30, 32 hours to be able to come up with my statement specific to me in the way in which I want it. So my mission and vision values to create it, it took me angst, and it took me time, and it took me thought processes, and it took me slowing down and speeding up, and I put my brain into it, and you need to. You put your heart into it. You put your brain into it. Like you deserve to have clarity in this space, no matter how long it takes, because everything changes now. I can, with certainty, go into any arena and know exactly what the outcome is going to be because I can create it. I can't create something that I don't know that I want to make. All right. Well, if we're good, guys, I'm okay with shutting down. If y'all are happy, I'm happy, and we'll catch you later. If you want, come back at 3 o'clock, and that's when I'm going to be doing the mission side of things. It's a little bit easier once we go this direction. Starting with mission is really hard, which is what a lot of people teach. I start with values because it's easier to take that value block and to go backwards, okay? All right, guys, if you need anything, let me know. Y'all take care.
Thank you, Randy.